Welcome to another edition of Second City Sports Zoom Style,
Zoom style.
along with Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown, which is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can go to our website for more information at www.weareregalradio.com. And you can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, along with the other podcast programming from War Media by simply going to War on Anchor, which keeps you over to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and that iHeartRadio app. Type in that search engine box on all podcast platforms. WARR on Anchor. Just type it in your search engine box. You can access our podcast there. We're also on YouTube at WARR Media. Once again, that's at War Media on YouTube. You can watch past episodes of all of our podcast programming. You can not only listen to us, but watch us do our thing live. As we take a bow and a kiss, we thank you for your support in advance.
And like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And we are unapologetically fun. Lakina, it's obvious since we are broadcasting live from Chicago. It's obvious that we'll start off with this great news. Chicago's mayor, Miss Lori Lightfoot, announced on Monday that there will be fans in the stands at the start of the baseball season for both our teams, both the Cubs and the White Sox. This is her statement. This is her tweet from her Twitter account as Chicago's mayor. This was from early Monday morning. Folks, we're significantly slowed the spread of COVID-19, getting our positivity rate down to 2.8%. And now we can begin to safely welcome back fans to our baseball stands on opening day. Although we're reopening, masks is still of utmost importance. And with 20% allowed at the games for the Sox, the attendance will be at 8,122. And for the Cubs at Wrigley, it will be 8,274 fans. Lakina, I'll start with you first. If you listen to this program, we've been telling you that this is going to be a process. How long it's going to take, how fast it's going to take, that remains to be seen. But Lakina, you should be happy as a baseball fan in Chicago. But if you listen to this program, we've been telling you this for months. We try to follow this as much as you guys can, but we kind of saw this coming down the pipeline. I'll let you have the floor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we told you it was going to be a gradual thing. It was going to be a gradual process. We're not going to have a full capacity right away. Unlike, Texas, Georgia, Mississippi, those states, we're not going to do that. So, and I know that with the Bucks, they've had like 10% capacity. I know New York just started letting their fans in for both the Knicks and the Nets. And also, I believe, although I don't think yet, but I think I saw somewhere that LA, they're going to start having their people in probably in about a month, too, about the same time for all their sports, about 15 to 20%. So again, this is sort of, what we all figured it was going to happen. So it's all about revenue too. I mean, these leagues are trying to make up for the revenue that they lost last year by not having fans, or in some cases limited fans. So this is great news all around for everybody. Although I am a little bit worried though, because the CDC, also said that, well, once you're fully vaccinated, you can have, mass gatherings and mass, and not have to wear a mask. But you're going to have folks that are going to be saying, well, hey, I got vaccinated, so there's no way, unless you look up their names and in a queue or something. But we'll worry about that when the time comes. But yeah, this is great news for everybody. And look, I think especially with the White Sox, this is anticipated to be a very special season for them. It's good to have the fans there. I know that tickets are going to be, in high demand. So I'm happy for the fans and, happy for the leagues, because like you said, the leagues, they need to kind of make up for the revenue. So hopefully this is the start of things slowly getting back to normal.
Yeah, and we have a statement from chairman for the Bulls and for the Chicago White Sox, Mr. Jerry Reinsdorf, end quote. We are proud of the important and historic role baseball plays in our country, offering respite during some of the most difficult times, or in providing fans with a sense of comfort when circumstances seemed uncertain. We believe this is a moment when baseball can indeed serve our fans in our communities again, as well as we all hope for a gradual return to normal. It's why we applaud Mayor Lightfoot, the leadership role she and Governor J.B. Pritzker have played in our city and state. And the decision today guided by an unwavering commitment to public health and safety to allow fans to return to guaranteed rate field for opening day. You know, I don't call that stadium that corporate name, but I had to because I was reading an official statement, end quote. Lakina, as you said before, this is all about money. I've been saying this to people who needed to hear this, both on and off this show. It's not about COVID-19 anymore, folks. You're seeing the mass vaccination places pop up, not only around the city, but around the state, but around the country as well. I know President Joe Biden said he'll make vaccinations for adults, people our age and younger, by the end of May. And so everybody who wants the vaccine can get it. I know our seniors are getting it now. They're eligible. They're getting their shots now. And people with underlying conditions and frontline workers, they're receiving it as we speak. But getting back to baseball, as you mentioned, the Sox, until they open it up fully to the general public, the tickets starting on opening day will be in high demand. Normally in a normal year, which we're not there yet, but normally during this time of year, Lakina, there were always would have had a set date of when individual tickets will go on sale. That didn't happen this year. As a White Sox fan, I would continue to receive emails throughout the off season and through up until about a week or so ago. Get your season ticket plans right now. I was supposed to get it this year, but I held off because I wasn't sure when they were going to allow fans back in. It seems like to me, and I think we touched on this a little bit the last couple of weeks, it looks like the limited fans that are going to be in these games are, I'm assuming, frontline workers, and rightfully so. And the first priority should be the season ticket holders, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll probably get the first priority, right? The people who have already been fully vaccinated, like you said the frontline workers, other folks out there, people with underlying conditions and other people. So I'm thinking that's probably where they're going to start. And then as the vaccines become available and get more and more vaccinated, now they probably are going to have to put a system in place where you're going to have to say, hey, you have to maybe like get a doctor's note maybe, or get something that says, hey, I've been vaccinated. That's probably the only way you'll be able to do it, and do it properly. So we'll see, how this goes. I think people need to remember that, the people are still getting infected. There's unfortunately there's still people dying from this. And I think people need to kind of like take it slow and, just be glad that, this is even starting at all.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't come down to that point, Lakina, once more vaccinations become available, asking people if they want to be vaccinated, because you can't force people to do what they don't want to do. But I think until that time, I know Mayor Lightfoot, as I read in her tweet statement from Monday, that you will be required to wear a mask, and which is fine because we're not out of it yet. And I understand about once this thing moves quickly, I think when the mask mandate, whenever that is, we'll get into our predictions on that in a minute. Whenever the mask mandate is lifted for good, like I said, you don't have to worry about who's vaccinated, who's not anymore, because more people would have been vaccinated. The positivity rates will go lower, hopefully, and we'll get back to more of a normal sense of living life and getting back to our normal routines.
Yeah, let's hope so. I think people want to get back to that point where, hopefully now that we've got competent people running, all these things, that hopefully maybe we can get, to the point where maybe not necessarily pre-pandemic, but to the point where maybe, like we don't have to worry about, people not being able to kind of, we can get it done right away. Hopefully we'll get to a point where we had to shut, literally everything had to shut down, now that like I said, now we got competent people running these things. And look, I heard some podcasts where, people were kind of ragging on, the mayor for, the vaccine rollout and stuff like that. But again, look, the whole thing was mishandled horribly. I think everybody can agree on that. So, to say that, well, it was somebody else's fault, no, that's, you can't really think of it that way. And I think that's the thing that people are missing here. And look, the Wild's been much better, thankfully. And, they're producing these things. Johnson & Johnson now has one out that you only need one dose. And I think that's probably where it's going to be more prominent in the Black and brown areas, particularly. So I think for me, I think once we get to the point where everybody will be able to, it'll be will be available for vaccinations. More people start getting those vaccinations, and we can start slowly getting back to normal. But I mean, like I said, it's still going to be a little bit. Hopefully, by the fall, by the end of the summer into the fall, by the time football season starts, we'll probably see crowds again. People being able to be on the sidelines again. So, hopefully, this is baby steps, folks. We're almost there. So let's just be patient.
You're listening to Second City Sports along with Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown, which is me, as we talk about the fans, Chicago baseball fans, both for the Cubs and the White Sox. They are allowing up to 20% capacity, at least to start the season, starting on opening day, which takes place next month. The Cubs will have their opening day April 1st against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Sox will have their home opener a week later on April 8th against the Kansas City Royals down on the south side. Lakina, getting back to all these teams, but specifically focusing on the White Sox, they need that money more than ever. I'm not saying, I know Jerry Reinsdorf came out and said that we're going broke, we don't have any money. Folks, they still have money, but the way that this team is being hyped up, and rightfully so, this is a World Series contending team, and then all these teams, including the White Sox, need a revenue generating from the fans. And like you said, Lakeem, the TV contract covered up some of that revenue that was lost from a year ago, but the majority of the revenue comes from us as fans. And the quicker that these vaccine rollouts become available, and hopefully the programs are successful, you'll have more fans who are ready to attend these games. Hopefully, like I said, when the mask mandate becomes permanent, that you don't have to wear them anymore and things along that line. People are ready to attend baseball games, no matter what your reason are to attend baseball games, because you like your team or just to get out the house, or the combination of the two. The more that these vaccines become available, the restrictions will ease up. Like you say, it's going to be baby steps, but baseball has led the way of getting back, leading the way for social change and people going back to normal in this case. So, like you said, and we predicted on this show throughout the last few months, it's going to take time, but we're slowly getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people need to kind of just be patient. I know patience is not a thing for some folks, but look, I think we're all.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, I'm also.
Even though I become just a little bit more patient as I gotten older.
Well, look, but
a little bit.
Well, yeah, well, I would advise folks. Look, we're almost there. Just keep your hands washed, keep your distance, and wear your mask properly. I've heard some people say that they're still going to wear their mask even though they've been vaccinated, which is smart on their part. So I think, look, we're almost there, folks. We're turning the corner. We're kind of down the home stretch. So let's just keep it going, and let's keep it up, or in this case, down.
And also too, Lakina, the state of California, as you mentioned, I was listening to some programming over the weekend. It is nice because we all know that the state of California toward the end of 2020 and the beginning of this year, that was one of the new hot spots as well. And they've really been going through it. It looks like things are starting to get better a little bit behind us here in Chicago and the state of Illinois. But they're going to allow, I believe, 20% or 15% capacity at the Dodgers games for this upcoming season. Hopefully they can have some sort of a ceremony for the team that won the World Series, as referring to the Dodgers from last year. And of course, there'll be some fans at the Angels games as well. I know the Sox start there. The White Sox start there on April 1st on the road there. I think it was April 1st or April 4th. That I can't remember. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I know the Sox start on the road at Anaheim during that time. But, Lakina, here's the thing. I think it's easy for me to predict this, that it won't be 20% throughout the whole season. Like we said before, once these vaccination sites, vaccines become more available, you'll start to get more fans in the stands. So hopefully by that time, the mask mandate will be lifted for good. Thankfully, we as a society are going to have a big time party. I know here in Chicago we will for sure. Once Governor Pritzker and Mayor Lori Lightfoot announced that we no longer had to wear a mask because more people are getting the vaccines for the herd immunity, and the positivity rates keep going down. We have less deaths due to COVID-19. It's going to be one hell of a day when that happens. So hopefully it happens sooner rather than later. I'll give you an over and under. will have fans, the more than 20% in the fans. I'll say when we increase it more, I'll say by Memorial Day. Over or under? We'll increase it
To
over
what, 50?
20%.
To 50, to like 50?
At least 50%, yeah.
But yeah, I'll take the
I'll
little,
say yes.
Yeah, I would probably say over. I would say by mid-June, I think, because I think they want to kind of do a gradual, especially once everything kind of gets going, and once more and more people, when it's become available and such, and all the politics of it gets taken out. I think it probably I'll give it until like mid-June. I think they want to be safe in the start. I think they want to kind of make sure that the risk is sort of minimal. I'll say that, and more and more people will get the vaccine, and I would say by mid-June, but I think we might have full capacity maybe by September for that stretch, especially if both teams end up competing for a playoff spot. I think by September we'll probably see full capacity, or at the very least maybe 75-80% capacity, maybe not necessarily 100%. That's where my mind is at right now.
I think that you may see full capacity by maybe the end of June, or maybe right after the All-Star break in July. That's just my guess right now, the way that things are moving gradually. But I think once the pace picks up, I think it will move at a rapid pace. But I'd say by the All-Star break, you'll probably see full capacity, at least right after the All-Star break. Because you start in the second half of the year. We're already into summer, and especially with both teams around here. I'll refer to my White Sox. Assuming that the White Sox are into contention, in which they should be, you'll get more fans, and then the revenues will start coming in, and everything will start to get back to normal. But I say 50% right around Memorial Day, and by the All-Star break, probably back to normal as far as you can have full capacity in there. Because even though you can still technically catch the virus in the summertime, we're out in the open space, so it'll be more difficult to contract the virus. Besides, unless you're indoors, where you're trapped and enclosed, and it's much easier to catch it.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Should be very interesting. All right, look at this. You listen to Second City Sports Podcast along with Sydney Brown, which is he. I am Lakina McGee. I am she. I am me. All right, so let's talk about the All-Star game, which happened on Sunday. I mean, look, first of all, did you catch any of it? Because I know that we had our druthers about whether this game, shouldn't even be taking place. But what did you watch any of it? And also, what did you think?
I did watch the majority of it, including the three events, which we'll break down in a few minutes. The actual game was okay. We didn't have the drama like we did last year here in Chicago with Anthony Davis making that game-winning free throw to win the game for his team. We still had some funny moments. It wasn't like the All-Star games from several years ago, which players didn't give a damn about. I'd say it was average, slightly above average. Steph Curry did his thing. He was looking for an MVP in the first half, but he struggled in the second half. LeBron James didn't even play in the second half. He kept his quote-unquote promise that his body was going to be there, but his mind wasn't. He gave you a couple of highlight dunks. He gave a couple of passes. He said, I'm done, which is fine. So he did what he had to do. Zach LaVine represents Chicago very well. He only played 28 minutes, scored 13 points. So he did okay, but he wasn't used as much as I thought he was going to be. Him playing 28 minutes, looking at the stat sheet, I said, it didn't seem like he was out there for that long, but it was nice to see him get his first All-Star experience, and he participated in a three-point contest as well, which will break down those events coming up in a few minutes. But the actual All-Star game itself, it was okay. I know it was weird because we're in the pandemic right now, even though things are starting to turn around slowly, but I wasn't expecting to be like last year, but it was okay. Slightly above average, but it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it like maybe a B, or maybe maybe a B, excuse me, a B minus or a B, because I mean, look, I wasn't really expecting much. I mean, especially since you can tell that some of the guys, I don't want to say they didn't want to be there, but they kind of felt like, okay, let's come in, let's do some stuff for HBCUs. They raised millions for various HBCU schools and, and universities, so that that was great. Giannis, won the Kobe Bryant All-Star MVP award. He joins KG and MJ as the only players to win an MVP, an All-Star MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year in their career. So, big accomplishment there. And Giannis said that he got to share this moment with his son who was there. So that was a nice moment. I mean, look, you had highlights. You had dunks. You had Dame, ending on a 3-pointer, which is usually what Dame does. So
from half court,
which is from like a Savannah or something. But yeah, it was really cool. That was really cool. The usual stuff. Curry, probably had his chance, but like you said, so he struggled in the second half. So he unfortunately he was off the radar for MVP. But look, it was fun. I mean, look, considering what happened with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. For those of you who didn't know, unfortunately, it turns out they were in close contact with a barber that it turned out he tested positive for COVID. They had to hell him out, but then all the tests came back. They just announced it early on Monday morning that all those tests came back negative. So at least from the way it looks like this, things kind of went off without, besides that little snafu, everything kind of went off without a hitch. But it was a nice look. It was your typical All-Star game. It was fun. He had a lot of a lot of the bands, the HBCU bands, virtually performing, and everybody had a good time. So that's the important thing.
It looks like I give the NBA a B+ for putting on the presentation, because we all knew that this event was put on at the last second, and to be held in the city of Atlanta, where it is HBCU King with Clark, Atlanta A&T, and Spelman and Morehouse. And so I get it why they held the game in Atlanta, and rightfully so. And the motivation behind the All-Star game, giving money to these HBCUs, which was great. And we've been saying it all along. This wasn't the issue why I had a problem with them playing the All-Star game. It was all about the money grab as far as paying Turner Sports, because they're the exclusive home for the All-Star game and All-Star weekend. So that's one way that Turner they had to make their money outside the covering the NBA playoffs. So that was a real reason why this All-Star game was even put on. But I'll give the NBA a B+. Like you mentioned, Lakina, the player introductions and the national anthem. Shout out to Miss Gladys Knight, the princess of old school R&B. She did her thing. She looked fabulous as always, and so she did a heck of a job. Now Shaka Khan, love her, but I know some people gave her the side eye last year at the United Center when she did the national anthem and her questionable attire, which I didn't have a problem with personally. But other than that, Lakina, if we were in normal times right now, all those performances by those bands would have been off the hook. First of all, they would have been there live on the court, and they could have done they would have done a little bit more as far as presentation and putting some more pizzazz into it. It would have been great. But for what the NBA had to do working around this situation, I'll give them a B+.
Yeah. I mean, look, like you said, Sid. I mean, look, Miss Gladys kept it casual. She's an Atlanta native. She's a big, basketball fan. So, she kept it casual. She sounded great, and it kind of gave you, a little old school there. And I'm sure she knew what what happened with Shaka Khan last year here in Chicago. But look, she like I said, she kept it. She sounded great as usual. She kept it casual with the outfit. So, and like I said, she's a big basketball fan. So everything went well there. Had the Clark Atlanta University harmonic a cappella group doing Literary Voice and Sing, which is really cool. So look, I mean, the aspect of it, like you said, it was last minute and everything, the colors and everything, but look, it turned out fine. I mean, look, I think it was sort of like what we expected for the All-Star game to be, and everything, and all kind of went okay. So that's all you can ask for.
Did you like the design of the court? Because I thought it was very cool and very creative.
Yeah, it was. I love the colors and stuff. Yeah, I thought it was really cool that they did that.
Now let's break down the events. There were two events that were held before the game. It was the skills competition and the 3-point shootout. Of course, Steph Curry won the 3-point shootout. Did you check out any of the skills competition? Because I picked Chris Paul and he didn't win it.
Yeah, well, he didn't. Well, he didn't do very well. I actually forgot that the skills competition was on. So
Mhm.
by the time I did watch it, they were doing the finals. So I'm like, oh crap, I missed it because they didn't really do a good very good job promoting it. So
Mhm.
by the time I realized that it was on, like I said, they were already in the finals. So I was like, oh okay, I missed a lot.
Yeah, I believe Domantas Sabonis of the
Yeah,
Indiana
yeah, he
Pacers
did.
won the event. So congratulations to him. Now the three-point shootout. Zach LaVine, for the second year in a row for the Bulls, participating in the event, and he scored 22 points. But he was edged out by Mike Conley, Jr. from the Utah Jazz, as far as participating in the final round. It came down to a last shot. Lakina Steph Curry defeated Mike Conley for the title, scoring big over 30 points in that final round. And Steph Curry said to the people, to his critics and fans, said, hey, the Warriors may not be that good, but I'm still one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter of all time. And I'm grabbing my second three-point crown in my career. Of course, he won it back in 2015 during All-Star Weekend in New York City.
Well, and also you got to commend Mike Conley for actually literally coming out of the bullpen because remember Ben Simmons was actually supposed to be participating in that three point contest,
Mm-hmm.
but of course he couldn't. They held him out, so Mike Conley came in kind of like without really warming up, so he actually was able to put on a great performance. Actually put the pressure on Steph to kind of like
Mm-hmm.
had to force him to kind of shoot the lights out, which of course he did, and of course Steph showing you that look, hey, I'm still look. Our team might not, as a whole, might not be very good. Clay's out for the season, but like, hey, I'm still here. Don't get it twisted. So it was actually a pretty entertaining 3-point contest.
Yeah, did you see Conley's reaction when Steph Curry hit that last shot in the final round? It
It's
was
like
like,
he do.
damn.
Yeah, I was like, oh crap! I know. I was like, just missed it by that much. But
Right.
but like we said, I mean, like he should be commended for all of that, and to at least making Steph work for it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's switch over now to the slam dunk contest. Looking at it took place at halftime, of course. Obi Toppin, he was my dark horse. He was actually my favorite to win because watching him last year at Dayton, he actually had a couple of nice dunks. But it was Anthony Simons from the Portland Trail Blazers who won the dunk contest. I think I saw and heard his name in passing, Lakina. Excuse me,
Uh-huh.
over the summer, but watching him in that slam dunk contest, I know some people still want to trash it because it's a popular thing to do because you don't have the quote unquote big stars anymore. We'll talk about that aspect of it in just a moment. But Anthony Simons, he did a Tracy McGrady dunk from the 2000 slam dunk contest. It was
Yeah.
very, very nice. And then, of course, the final round, he did a couple of dunks, and he reminded me of Vince Carter in this sense. He doesn't need much to jump because he's shorter.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Simons. That kid has hops. Just like Vince Carter, who's a little bit taller than him. I know Vince Carter is 6'5", 6'6". But Simons, give him a trampoline. He could literally jump out of the arena.
Oh well, yeah.
That's
Look,
how high that man can jump without any support.
Well, yeah, he's 6'4", and look, I mean, though he went to a prep school, he didn't go to college. He skipped college and went to the NBA. Had actually been contributing pretty well for Portland. But I mean, look, I mean, he does kind of remind me of Vince Carter in that sense, where look, he has the vertical jump, even though he's not
Mm-hmm.
that tall. So I was impressed by him. I know some people felt that him and Obi and also Cassius Stanley, who was also the other competitor,
He had
got
a good first dunk, but
yeah,
after that he
yeah,
struggled.
he just didn't do very well after that. So, but Simons was consistent from start to finish, and I think he deserved to win. And it actually turned out to be a pretty good all-star dunk contest. I wouldn't mind them doing that regularly. Do it in at halftime, so that way it won't take like about about 2 hours for a dunk contest. So I wouldn't be opposed to them doing the dunk contest during the halftime of the All-Star game, be a little more sense of urgency.
Now, assuming that things will get back to normal next year for the NBA, which I believe it will, the All-Star game next year will be in Cleveland, LeBron James' hometown. So what you're saying, not to put words in your mouth. So you're saying that All-Star Saturday night, how would you do it? So you would keep everything All-Star Saturday night with the 3-point contest and the skills challenge, but move the dunk contest to halftime of the actual All-Star game?
I
Is that
I
what you're
will.
suggesting?
I'm suggesting it. That's what I'm saying.
I will strongly disagree with you, Lakina. All-Star Saturday night is about the slam dunk contest. Hopefully you'll get Zion in there next year. Hopefully you'll get John Moran. All-Star Saturday night is built off the slam dunk contest. Yes, it was a time limit on Sunday because of what we're in right now, but I'll give him the NBA credit. It was a good contest. Was it the greatest? No. Was it the worst? No. Trust me, I've seen worse dunk contests. 2001, 2010, 2013. People, thank you very much. With that being said, when everything starts to will be back to normal by this time next year. The slam dunk contest should be back on All-Star Saturday night. Just hopefully you get a couple of big names in there like John Morant or Zion Williamson, or whoever's going to be a hot rookie drafted this summer. So that's the thing that the NBA slam dunk contest is missing. Yes, there have been periods where the dunk contest hasn't been as hot because some of your big time players didn't want to participate, or the lack of creativity, or the combination of the two. But we always see something that we haven't seen before for the slam dunk contest, and hopefully Anthony Simons will participate in Cleveland next year, and hopefully we get a big name or two in there. And so I'll still say keep the old format the same. Leave the slam dunk contest for All-Star Saturday night.
We'll be sure to see what happens here, because I'm look, I like the fact that keep it quick, keep it just keep it moving. So that's just me. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what they decide to do next year. But I like All-Star Saturday night too. But by the time the dunk contest comes, I think folks want to kind of go back to I think folks are tired and stuff. So keep the fans wanting more. So just a thought.
Yeah, just real quick before we move on, Lakina, I will say this because we're slowly coming out of the pandemic right now. I know that the NBA is considered the Super Bowl for us African Americans, and it's the events and the parties, and we experienced that last year in Chicago. The events are just as big or bigger than the game. But I don't know about you. Me personally, you notice if All Stars Saturday night, and we didn't have the Rising Stars Challenge this year, formerly known as the Rookie Game, but we didn't have that this year. But it's even during the at halftime of the All-Star game, you usually have the hottest music performer, whoever's hot right now, performing. Me personally, I did not miss that at all this year. I know we'll probably ease back into that next year, but for this year, I did not miss that at all.
No, I was fine with it actually. I was fine with it.
I don't care about Bruno Mars or Cardi B or whoever was supposed to be hot this year or over the past couple years. I did not miss that at all.
No, I was fine with it. I was fine with it not being, you didn't have the hot artists from Atlanta and whoever that person is. So I was fine with it not having that aspect of it, because I think this was sort of a concentrate on the basketball and the stuff going around it with the HBCUs raising money for them and whatnot. So I think that, not saying that would have been a distraction, but I kind of feel like maybe it's a good thing this year that they didn't do that, just to kind of keep the focus of where it's supposed to be.
You're listening to Second City Sports along with Lakina McGee. I am Sydney Brown as we're winding down this first segment talking about the NBA. Lakina, before we get to the Bulls, we may have to save them until next segment. I'm not sure. But Blake Griffin, he was bought out by the Pistons over the weekend. It looks like he's going to join the Brooklyn Nets. I'll ask you this question. Where does this leave Andre Drummond? Does he go to the Lakers? Does he go to Portland? Does he go to Boston?
Well, I saw the move with Griffin with the Nets is official. I've heard I read some rumors this morning that that looks like Drummond may end up going to the Lakers once they do officially have the buyout. So it's like he's going to go to them. But I think, look, as for Griffin, we'll see. I mean, they need that big body out up front, and that's been sort of thing that's been missing with the Nets. And some guys a guy that can block a shot. We know Griffin can do that. So hopefully, there are enough basketballs to go around. I'm just saying.
If you're Blake Griffin, you're not being asked to lead the team. You're asked to come in, do a specific role, and do it to the best of your ability. At this point of his career, he's been that guy with the Clippers. Now he's reunited with ex-teammate, now current teammate DeAndre Jordan. They used to play with the Clippers together about a decade ago. For Mr. Griffin, you just had to score your 8 to 10 points a game, if that, play defense, and that's it. You don't have to be the guy anymore to carry that burden. That's James Harden's job. That's Kevin Durant's job. That's Kyrie's job to a lesser extent. So if you Blake Griffin, just come in, add some additional scoring, and basically play defense. That's it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably gonna be like that with Drummond too. I mean, just sort of could just be kind of like, we're not asking to be the other AD, Anthony Davis, but just to sort of like be kind of like take the pressure off LeBron, be the facilitator on the inside, and that's the thing that's been missing with the Lakers. So we'll see with both these moves. We'll see what happens, because it's gonna be very interesting in the second half when we talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting. I think going back to Andre Drummond, I think he wouldn't be a bad fit for Portland because Nurkic has been injured the last couple of years. Carmelo Anthony's still doing good, but and Zach Collins, I don't think he's played at all this season. I could be wrong, but Andre Drummond wouldn't be bad for Portland. Him, Dame Dollar, and then hopefully when CJ McCollum gets back, that's not a bad team.
Yeah,
I know Boston. I know Boston can also use him, but I'm not saying that he couldn't fit with Boston. But I just don't sense that pizzazz with him with the Celtics. They could use him, but I don't know if Boston will. And Danny Ainge, the GM there, is going to really go after him. I may be wrong, but I just don't get the excitement there for Drummond going to Boston. They could use him, but I don't know if they're going to get him.
Do they have enough, cap room for him to get there? They may.
Good question.
That's probably the thing. Like, at least with the Lakers, they can kind of move some money around so that he'll be able to get in there. But I
think they're the favorites to get him, like you said.
Yeah. So I just, although I'm sure Portland could probably definitely use him because they don't have a big man really. So we'll see what happens. But we'll see if the Lakers moved is official before we reconvene on Saturday, but should be interesting to see what he does or where he goes.
Yes, it will be. Lakina, let's start off in this segment with the Chicago Bulls. Of course, the second half of the season starts on Wednesday, but for the Bulls, they'll start on Thursday as they'll kick off their 5-game homestand. Their first game will be against the Philadelphia 76ers on Thursday at 7 o'clock from the UC. And then they'll face the Miami Heat the next night on Friday at 8 p.m. And their game on Sunday against the Toronto Raptors will take place at 8 o'clock. Lakina, as we said before in our last episode with our Bulls NBA Roundtable, this is an important stretch for Chicago. Now they're within striking distance of the playoffs. They're tied with the Toronto for 8th place. They're a couple of games behind 5th and 6th place. This is the time that we get to see if this team has learned their lessons from the first half of the year. This is where head coaching will come in terms of Billy Donovan, but it's all about the players at this point, Lakina. They're right there for the playoff spot. You're facing better teams. You're facing better competition. You need to test out your skills and see if your experience will carry over in terms of learning lessons from the first half of the year in terms of competing and beating some of these high-quality teams.
And I think this is sort of what it looks like. They're not going to trade that young. That's what the rumors are. Although, there have been some reports saying that they may want Otto Porter Jr. We'll see where that goes. But again, I think their schedule is going to be even harder this this second half. So that's going to be where we'll see where this team is. I mean, we know they're not at the level of Milwaukee. They're not up there with the Sixers. We get that. So can it be in that sort of that third tier among the Eastern Conference teams? So we'll see. I mean, look, we'll see how they are. If or when Laurie comes back. We'll see where they're at. I mean, we all saw their schedule. It's super difficult. I mean, they got to play Philly a couple of times. They got to play Milwaukee a couple of times. They got Brooklyn 3 or 4 times. So it's going to be very interesting to see where they are in this sense. I mean, look, you're 16, 18, great. But I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
look, I'm sure folks are going to be asking for a lot more from them. But at the same time, though, for me, look, if you can get right at the cusp of 500, be right there for, if not a playoff spot, at least to be in the play-in to get into the playoffs, I think you probably have to feel good. I mean, they're in ninth right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're right there, Toronto's ahead only because they played more games than them, because
Mm-hmm.
of course the Bulls have had some games have had to be like moved around due to COVID issues with the other teams they're supposed to be playing. But look, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see where they'll be. Once we, maybe by the end of May, where they'll be at. Are they going to be competing for a wild card spot? Be right there on 500. That's really going to be anybody's guess.
Couple of things to keep an eye on for you Bulls fans as we start the second half later on this week. One, will Kobe White, how much has he improved? We've seen him improve in some spots. It's been a roller coaster for him for this first half. I think we can all agree that the starting point guard position for him is over. Just put him at the two spot and let him just roll and do his thing, because we all know that he's a scorer and that's what he does best. You can still make plays, but scoring is his mentality. And that's what he does best. Keep your eye on Kobe White. Also, number two, and I didn't get to this in our last episode, Daniel Gafford.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how much more energy that can he bring off the bench. Because one couple things, but one of the main things that the Bulls have struggled with this year is interior defense. I know Wendell Carter Jr. was injured early on in the season. I know he's been back for the last few weeks, but the Bulls cannot stop anybody inside, and this goes way beyond the 50-point performance from Joel and me from last month, okay? I just want to see how much Daniel Gafford has left for his energy to bring off the bench, and how much can Wendell Carter Jr. improve? I know he's playing out of position for the moment, but can the Bulls muster up some type of consistency as far as interior defense is concerned?
And like you said, I mean, that'll be very interesting too. I mean, how much Tipple's going to be used, how much Sato's going to get used. Also, too, I mean, if Laurie does come back, I mean, will he be the inside guy, or will Wendell Carter be playing out of position again in the inside? Because that's sort of been a big problem. Not just with Embiid, with Jokic, his performance against them last week. This is going to be something that, look, this is sort of a talent evaluation. We've been saying this for months now, and it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Like, look, I think it's safe to say that a lot of these guys probably will not be here next season. So, let's just see what you have and what can you build around.
And also, too, when Laurie Marketing, if and when he gets back, will he have that same hot scoring surge as he did when he came back from his injuries the first time early in the season? So those would be the three key points that I'm looking forward to keeping my eye on as the Bulls start the second half later on this week.
Going to be very interesting now. Real quick before we take our break, going through the games. The Wednesday games, you got Washington and Memphis. Also in Texas, you got San Antonio and Dallas. That's an NBA TV game. That should be very interesting there. We'll see where both these teams are. San Antonio, came back just about a week before, the break because of COVID issues. So we'll see where they're at. Dallas, with Luka in the game, they're both kind of like right there for, in the playoff picture. So we'll see where these teams are, by the time, we start these second half games. It's going to be very interesting and very entertaining.
Yes, they will be. On Thursday, a TNT doubleheader at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time is the Boston Celtics traveling to New York City to take on the Brooklyn Nets, followed by the Golden State Warriors at the Los Angeles Clippers at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Also, the highlighted games for Thursday is Phoenix at Portland at the same time at 9 p.m. And, of course, in the early games, you'll have the Atlanta Hawks traveling to Tampa to face the Toronto Raptors at 6:30 p.m. And also at 7 o'clock on Thursday, you'll have the New York Knicks traveling to Milwaukee to face the Bucks at 7 p.m.
And also, too, down in Miami, got Orlando and Miami. And Orlando's a very scrappy team. We'll see where Miami is. So should be fun, down in Florida. All these games should be. And on Friday, You got Philly and Washington. We'll see where, Washington is. They kind of got into a little bit of a, not necessarily a hot streak, but they kind of like, they won a few games, pulled off a couple of upsets, right before the break. We'll see where they are. Also, probably Denver and Memphis on NBA TV. That's the first game of that doubleheader. That should be a lot of fun. Should be very interesting. Jamal Murray and John Morant. That should be a hell of a lot of fun.
Yep, and also you have the Indiana Pacers at the Los Angeles Lakers on Friday. That should be fun. And so, of course, we mentioned earlier the Miami Heat will travel to Chicago to take on the Bulls on Friday. So the NBA will be starting back up later this week, Lakina. Some hot games we just mentioned there. And as the drive to the playoffs will start now, these games should be interesting. And now, for the second year in a row, you'll have the format of the 7-10 seed qualifying for the play-in tournament.
Yeah, and I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of trash talking between our buddies Matt Peck and a lot of Tech Hire. I'm already expecting there's going to be a lot of trash talk between them too. So I'm already anticipating that. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to go play nice, guys. Play nice. So that should be.
Yeah, you might have to go play referee for that one.
I'm gonna say play nice, guys. It should be a good one too. Jimmy Butler against Zach LaVine. That should be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, both of those lovely people are good friends of the show.
Yeah. But play nice, you guys.
Yes. We're going to play nice and take a 20-second time out here on Second City Sports. When we get back, we'll have the latest in college basketball, both locally and nationally. And we'll get into a little of the Chicago Blackhawks and something that the NHL did, which they got away with, but yours truly didn't point it out in our last episode, but I'm going to point it out in a few minutes on the flip side. And we're going to get into about the way that we consume our media, and it has to do with a local story here in Chicago. We'll explain all of that, and plus we'll have a lot more fun. You're listening to Second City Sports, along with Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown, which is me. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Along with Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown, which is me. You can find yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can go to our website for more information at weareregalradio.com. That's WEAREREGAL radio.com. You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, along with the other podcast programming from War Media by simply searching for us on all podcast platforms, War on Anchor. That keeps you over to iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and the iHeartRadio app. Type in that search engine box, War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. We're also on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. You can not only listen to us, but watch us do our thing live as we blow kisses to the crowd and take our bows. Thank you for your support in advance.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And we are unapologetically fun as we kick out the second segment with some college basketball. Let's start locally, Lakina, with the Fighting Illini. They end their regular season on a high note last Saturday, beating the Ohio State Buckeyes on the road 73-68. Your top performers were Andre Corbello. He chipped in with 19 points for the Illini. Justice Sewing had 15 points for the Buckeyes. Lakina, the return of the masked Ayo, or as I call him, Ayo Dosunmu. Lakina, did you see him perform on that court this past Saturday, including that last bucket which gave the Illini a 4-point lead? That young man was amazing. Dosunmu ended the game with 19 points. He also grabbed 4 rebounds, dished out 3 assists. As we said before the last couple of episodes, this team is good without him, but this team is a championship caliber team with him, obviously.
Yeah, they're so much fun to watch, and you saw him with that mask. Like, look, I don't know if they're gonna recast Batman. I don't know if Ayo can act to save his life, but he definitely he's definitely gonna make a play for that. But look, I mean, the team looked very impressive, and we saw them without him against Michigan, but we saw him with him against Ohio State, and look, they look very scary. They're gonna be a very tough out for somebody. So look, this team's a lot of fun to watch, and I'm very excited how they're going to look, on Friday. I think that's when they play the Big Ten tournament. Of course, they got the double bye, but look, I mean, there's going to be a lot. That Big Ten tournament in Indy is going to be very competitive. Of course, you got Michigan. It's like, hey, look, don't forget about us, and also too, you got Ohio State. I'm sure they're going to have some say. Iowa too. So there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be kind of like, and look, you got to look at the bowl teams, right? You got Michigan State, which kind of helped themselves by splitting their weekend series with Michigan. You got Rutgers, who probably going to need a couple more wins to get in. So there's going to be a lot of sort of, once we start getting, especially once the bigger conferences start getting to the respective tournaments, there's going to be a lot of bubble teams, especially in the Big Ten. There are a lot of openings this year, so it'll be interesting to see what happens and what they do, because like you said, Maryland's probably gonna win a couple more games. Indiana's probably gonna get to at least the semifinals, at least to get a chance to get in. So there's still a lot of uncertainty in that bottom tier of the Big Ten.
Yeah, going back to the final Illini game against the Buckeyes for just a moment, break it down the box score. Kofi Coburn had an okay game in 25 minutes of action. He had 12 points and 6 rebounds. Trent Frazier, he only scored 3 points in a couple of minutes. He really struggled shooting 1 for 5 from the field, including 1 for 4 for the 3-point range. But it was all about the Sumu. And Jacob Granderson chipped in with 9 points in 21 minutes of action. It was a classic back-and-forth game. And it came down to the last couple minutes of the game, as I mentioned, the Sumo with their layup and +1. The Illini, they're built for the long haul, and when you take a look at them as possibly being one of the 4 number 1 seeds in the tournament, they got it. Of course, Michigan is in a battle with them, as well as Lakina mentioned a moment ago, and even though they didn't take their game as serious on Sunday at Michigan State, of course, because they had the regular season Big Ten title all wrapped up. Michigan looks good. I know they had an injury on Sunday. We'll see how that plays out once the Big Ten tournament starts later on this week in Indianapolis. But as we said before on the show, the Big Ten is the top conference in the land this year for 2021. You're going to see between 6, maybe 7 teams. I don't know, you'll get 8 or 9 teams, but between 6 and 8 possibly will be fair. And as you mentioned before, Lakina, Michigan State helped themselves out with that win on Sunday. They're really glad to make a run at Indianapolis later on this week.
Yeah, I've seen some people say that they're probably in with that split series, but I think if you're Michigan State, I think you're probably going to win maybe a couple more games, at least get to the core, at least win your first round game. That way there won't be any doubt, because like I said before, I've said for years, before the tournament, it's all about lasting impressions. And if you lose to a bottom tier team, I don't know, I don't have the bracket for the Big Ten tournament in front of me, but I'm assuming they're probably going to play like maybe Minnesota or Ohio State, or Penn State, I should say, or somebody like that. So if you lose to either one of those type of teams, that's not going to be a good look for you too in the committee's eyes. So like I said, it's all about lasting impressions. So they'll probably get 7. Like I said, 8 might be pushing it a bit, but I think they'll definitely get 7. So with 7, after Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Purdue, and Ohio State, Rutgers and Wisconsin, you probably think that maybe like 1 or 2 more teams may be able to get in after that. So like I said, it's all about who advances further at this point.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, staying local in college basketball, let's say congratulations to your 2021 Missouri Valley Conference Tournament champions, the Loyola Ramblers of Chicago, the 20th-ranked squad in America. They defeated Drake by the score of 75-65 on Sunday in St. Louis. Cameron Krutwig led the Ramblers with 20 points and 8 rebounds. Drake was missing their top scorer, as we mentioned a few weeks ago. Now they're missing their top assist guy, but they were led by Tremont Murphy, who chipped in with 20 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, and added 2 assists. Lakina is all about defense with the Loyola Ramblers, as we talked about them a week or so ago with Jordan Burnfield from WGN Radio, and he's college basketball TV voice for the Big Ten and ESPN as well. And he talked about a couple of guys that need to step up. And they did that on Sunday. Luke Williamson, he struggled. He was the Chicago's very own from Whitney Young. He struggled a little bit, but it was all about the defense. Lakina, toward the end of that first half, you could see the tide shifting, and of course, coming out in that second half, Loyola had it on lock, and Drake didn't know what to do. They fought hard. They still a good team. I know there's some questions about them possibly getting in, but I still believe that they're in. But congratulations once again to the Loyola Ramblers winning the conference tournament title. They're the regular season champs, now tournament champs as well, as they get that automatic bid from the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, look, I think that I've said it before, and there's been buzz about this team's probably better than the team that went to the Final Four last year. Griffin was a freshman on that team, didn't really contribute much because he was only a freshman. But he's seen, it's not when the lights get bright. I don't expect him to kind of be freaked out by the moment. So I'm not expecting him. I think there were a couple other guys that were on the team too that are now seniors, but I think it's all about matchups. I mean, with me, in Loyola, Lenardi's got them, right now as an 8 seed, so they could probably end up, should they win their nine matchup with an 8 or 9, if they are 8 or 9, if they win that game, they'll probably play one of the number 1 seeds. So it should be interesting to see what they do. Wouldn't it be interesting though if Illinois does end up being a number 1 seed, that they do try to put Illinois and Loyola? Look, we know how the committee is. They have a very interesting sense of humor, so I can picture them doing that. I don't know if they would, but don't be surprised if they do. but yeah, look, I mean, they totally deserve it, and Porter Moser has done a great job with that program, basically building it from the ground up. And as for Drake, like you said, they've been out without a lot of their top guys. A lot of the bracketologists got them like just barely getting in with the play-in games. But like I said, it's all going to depend on how the other teams, the other bubble teams do. The Xaviers, like I mentioned, Maryland, Michigan State. Who else is on the bubble with some of the maybe Stanford or somebody like that. So so it's all going to depend on like how the bubble teams go at it. Maybe a Duke. I mean, look, Duke's on the bubble for the first time in a while. So maybe Syracuse. So it all depends on what those teams do in their tournaments. But we'll see. I know right now I think Drake is in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Lakina. And staying with Loyola just a moment, as we talk about this time of year, you need great guard play and great inside presence. But for me, you need their third scorer. And for Loyola on Sunday, Braden Norris came to play, playing 36 minutes, scoring 20 points, including 5 of 9 for three-point land. If he could keep it up, and hopefully Lucas Williamson can get back on track, Loyola could make a deep run. I'm not saying they're going to the Final Four, but I think this team can make a big run. Hopefully Illinois stays out of that bracket, but outside of that, they could win about 2 or 3 games.
Oh yeah, I think like I said, it's all about the matchups with this kind of thing. So, like I said, I mean, the committee tends to want to be humorous. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be very interesting though, because I think that that this they have a chance to go pretty far. But like I said, it's all about the matchups. Now, a shout out to the 4 teams that have already made it to the dance. Liberty out of the Athletic Sun going for the 2nd straight season. Winthrop, that could be at 23-1. Look, I've seen that Winthrop team. That's a veteran squad. That could definitely be a fit for somebody. Don't take them like, of course, Loyola, of course, and also Morehead State going back for the first time since 2007 from the Ohio Valley. So 4 teams have punched their tickets to the dance, and there'll be more by the time we convene on Saturday.
You're listening to Second City Sports along with Lakina McGee. I am Sydney Brown. As we talk college basketball, we're getting close to March Madness, folks. The selection show will be coming up this upcoming Sunday. Lakina, these conference tournaments will be some of the mid-major conference tournaments will be wrapping up around this time this podcast is out, which is today, which is Tuesday, which is today. But your big-time Power 5 conference tournaments will start tomorrow with the Pac-12, the Big Ten, as we mentioned, the ACC, the Big Ten, ACC, Big Ten, Big East, along those lines. Before we kind of preview what we think could happen as in the beginning of these tournaments, what else the games stood out to you from this past Saturday and Sunday in college basketball?
And the Big 12 looks like Baylor's back. I mean, they kind of took it to the woodshed against Texas Tech and beating them pretty handily. So we all thought that was a very very close game. they ended up beating them by 15, and sort of I think people were kind of questioning, okay, are Baylor really, are they kind of like be on the cusp because they lost a couple in a row because of COVID restrictions, they were off for a few weeks, but they're saying no, we're still here. And I mean, look, Macy O.T., who probably will be competing with his teammate Jared Butler, who we've talked about, had 35, for Baylor, and his, I think he's a senior, so that was a nice, putting on a show for the home crowd, in his final home game there. And look, I think Baylor has showed that, we're one of the favorites too. Don't forget about us either. So I say good for them. And another game that, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. Me and Kyle were kind of talking about it. The end of the USC UCLA game. Did you see the end of that game?
Missed it.
Oh, you missed it. Well, look, I mean, it was a crazy game because I think UCLA was up by 15, and in the first half, SC kind of clawed their way back, and and they had a last second shot. Our buddy Spiro Diaz had a friend of the show from CBS had the call there, and I mean, look, that was a look. Whenever those two teams play in any sport, I mean, that's always it's always fun when those two teams play against each other or whatever the sport. But this was a really a great finish. Definitely a March Madness finish. That was Taj Eddie Edes, I think that's how you say his name. 3-pointer with just over a second and a half left. Submitted that win for them too, and also to Oregon. That's a team that a lot of people are not really talking about. I mean, they kind of got hot late, clinched number 1 seed, beat SC, a couple weeks back to kind of put them in the driver's seat of winning the Pac-12. And they got a nice deep squad. Of course, Dana Altman, we all know what a great job he's done with that program too. So some really great performances. So what about you? For what you saw this weekend, what kind of stood out to you?
Oklahoma State going to Morgantown and beating West Virginia 85-80. Avery Anderson had a big game, 31 points, including a key jumper late in that game. Bob Huggins, we all know he coached in Cincinnati way back when he had some competitive teams. Actually took a team to the Final Four back in the day. Remember Corey Blunt, all you old school Bulls fans? He came in the year after Michael. Also, Nick Van Exel was on that team as well. Yep. But he has another competitive squad with the West Virginia. Actually helped turn their program around as well. So they kind of struggled down the stretch, but Oklahoma State gets the best of them there. Also, Providence upsetting Villanova 54-52. Villanova, even though they're ranked 10th in the country, they struggled here down the stretch. They're still holding on to a 16-5 record with an 11-4 record in the Big East. Florida State took a step back as Notre Dame upset them 83-73.
Also, too, going back to that OK State West Virginia upset, they did it without Kate Cunningham, so that was pretty impressive there. And also, too, like you said, that was a sort of surprise. Notre Dame, beating Florida State, which paved the way for Virginia to kind of sneak in there. And
technically they defended national champs.
Yeah, so they beat Louisville, held them off by 10 points, and now they're number 1 seed in the ACC. So they are kind of the de facto national champions. So I'm sure that they're excited there. But look, that's a very good squad to Virginia. So we'll see what damage they can do in the tournament.
Yep. Also, too, a couple of games from Sunday. I did check out the ending of this one. Of course, the Memphis Tigers traveled to Houston to face the number 9 ranked Cougars. Lakina, this is what this time of year is all about. Memphis tied the game at 64 with under 2 seconds left. And then, of course, someone from the bench called out that game. It was a miracle half-court shot for Houston as they steal a victory away from the Memphis Tigers. As I think we said, I said in our last episode, Lakina, Memphis will have to win that conference tournament to even have a shot at the NCAA tournament. I think Houston's in, but it's going to be hard for my guy Penny Hardaway.
I mean, I didn't saw the game, but I saw the replay of it. Tremont Marks 3-pointer from basically half court. It was basically a prayer because it was only a little over a second left, but that prayer was answered. And look at it. Look at that Memphis schedule. I mean, look, they beat Wichita State, so that helps a little bit. But I think if you're Penny Hardaway, I think you probably have to get to the final of the American tournament, to at least have a shot. Because from what I've seen, a lot of them a lot of the bracketologists still have them on the bubble. So, try to look. This is a great way to kind of, they're only thinking about maybe like 2 or 3 teams from the American this year. So, hopefully Memphis, can win. Get to the final if you're Memphis, if not win it, so that way you can kind of cement your spot in the big dance. So we'll see. The Atlantic 10 should be another fun one. You got St. Bonaventure, a veteran team, VCU, a team that's been around for a minute. It's probably going to be between those two in that conference once they, once they get their conference going. I think the final's going to be like on Wednesday or Thursday because they moved it up. But that should be interesting. Look, like I said, Whitworth could probably do some damage. Look at the other conferences. I mean, it's going to be very interesting because a lot of these conferences will have already clinched their spots by the time we come back on Saturday. So we'll keep you guys updated because you got the Horizon League, their finals tomorrow. Tonight, I should say. The Colonial, theirs is this week too. The MAC, they start that this week. So Mountain West starts their conference tournament on Thursday too. So a lot of spots left to be filled. So it should be a lot of fun as usual, and as we get to fill out these brackets.
Yeah, just one more point on college basketball before we move on, Lakina. Shout out to Luke Garza. He played his final home game in the Iowa Hawkeyes uniform as the 5th-ranked Hawkeyes defeated number 25 Wisconsin 77-73 on Sunday. Garza, he could be Big Ten Player of the Year, but Ayo Dosunmu has something to say about that. Garza grabbed 16 rebounds while scoring 21 points and dishing out 2 assists. As we talked about earlier, Lakina, about being a crowded field as far as the Big Ten is concerned, Wisconsin, even though they ranked 25th, I'm concerned about them as they struggled here towards the end of the season. They lost at Iowa, as I mentioned the other day, and they had a big loss, got blown out last weekend against Illinois. I'm concerned about them going into the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, that's a veteran squad. And I think they're just not shooting the ball well. I mean, that's a team that depends on the three a lot. When they're not shooting their three, it gets bad very quick. And so if you're a Badgers fan, you got to be, feeling pretty concerned, going into the Big Ten tournament because, I mean, I think the confidence isn't there for them right now, and we'll see. I mean, look, we've seen in the Big Ten tournament, teams get hot at the right time. We saw it with Michigan, a few years back. So we'll see. I mean, look, I'm hoping that Wisconsin can get it together, but it's going to be very tough.
It will be very tough, but at this time of year, the conference tournaments, especially in the Power 5 conferences, start up. This is the time of year we see a whole lot of crazy things, a whole lot of upsets, so it's going to be fun. And so we're going to keep abreast on all the happenings and games for you right here in Second City Sports.
All right, Sid. Some NFL here for a second.
Yes.
They're still trying to figure out what the number is going to be for the salary cap because, the TV deals are still kind of being, crossing the I's, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. So, Bobby Massey has been released by the Bears, and I think I just saw like a couple.
As expected.
Yeah, which is so expected. But I think Dunlap, Carlos Dunlap, I think I just saw was released by the Seahawks.
Seahawks, yes.
Yeah, so like we've been saying, expect a lot of names to be released because of the salary cap.
Yes, even though that TV contract should be in signed, sealed, and delivered by the time the new league year starts, less than 2 weeks. Like I said, you're going to see some veteran names because, as we mentioned before, we talked about baseball in our last segment. Not much money was being made from the fans from the NFL this past year. So the TV contract made up for some of that, but as the salary cap is going down a little bit for the 2021 season coming up, you're going to see a lot of high-priced veterans being cut. And like you mentioned, Bobby Massey is expected was cut by the Bears. You're going to see a whole lot more. So get ready, folks.
Yeah, so I think Matt Vernon, who we had on a few weeks back, said, look, you're going to be expecting a lot of veteran names, to be released because of, various salary cap reasons. We've seen it already. So expect a lot more.
Yep. And also, too, today, Lakina, is franchise tag day, as of key free agents are will be told if they're going to be franchise tagged or not. Of course, you have the situation in Dallas with Dak Prescott, referring to Matt Verderam's appearance on our show a couple weeks ago. Technically, he does not have to sign that tag, but if he does, Dak Prescott, I don't know if he's going to get a long-term deal. If he signs the tag, he's going to earn $37.6 million for the upcoming season. But if he doesn't sign it, he has all the leverage in the world because Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, cannot take any money out of his pocket, i.e. fine him. Of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a dilemma in their hands. Do you tag Chris Godwin, their wide receiver, or do you tag linebacker Shaquille Barrett, who I argue was their co-MVP of their playoff run, which led them to their second Super Bowl in franchise history? And also, of course, here in Chicago, wide receiver Allen Robinson. Will he be tagged? I said it all along, Lakina. He's going to get tagged. I'll be shocked if he doesn't get tagged at this point. Now, do they work out a long-term deal? That's a whole nother question, but I expect Allen Robinson to be tagged by the Bears.
Oh, I think that's going to happen. I know he's not going to like it, but look, the ball's in they're in favor of the Bears, so I would not be surprised if they do when and if they do decide to tag Allen Robinson. Like I said, I know, I'm sure he's not going to like it, but I think like you said, to kind of to be sort of petty, because I'm sure they know that he'll get that money elsewhere, especially to a contender. So.
Yep.
I can totally see them franchise tagging them. As far as the Bucks are concerned, I mean, that's going to be very interesting to see what they do. Do they? I think if I were the Bucks, I would tag Barrett because he is going to have. If you don't, he's gonna want money, which you probably won't be able to pay him. And also too, he's probably going to get a lot of with his playoff performance. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of money in the open market. So you're kind of stuck in sort of a realm of what you're going to do. In that sense.
Yeah, also, too, pass rushers that are going into their prime or also right in their prime, they're a hot commodity. You rarely see that happen on the open market. And those guys are locked up just like quarterbacks right away. So it's going to be interesting what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do with Shaquille Barrett. I will do any and everything in my power to keep him. Because he, as I said before, he was your key to stopping Aaron Rodgers in the NFC title game. You saw what that defense, including Mr. Barry, did in that Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes and a high-powered Kansas City offense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the Jason Light, who is the GM for the Bucs, he's got a lot to think about. Another name that's being floated around, I think Russell Wilson, there are various reports saying that, that he does want to be traded. But other times he doesn't want to be traded. So, and of course the Bears are being thrown around as a potential name.
Why?
I know you got folks that are trying to dream big, and I don't get it. I mean, I know there's a reason why he put the Bears names on that list. I don't see it happening. They don't have the capital for it. Yes, I'm sure they're going to go all in on him. But they don't have anything unless you're gonna throw in Roquan or maybe another one of your top offensive guys. You've got nothing for John Schneider to play with. He's gonna look at you like, wait, no. I got better packages. So I'm just like sort of annoyed that Bears fans are sort of like thinking,
As Ken Davis of the Now That Davis show has been saying all along, listen to him as well as part of the War Media Group. This team needs a franchise tackle. You need a tackle, and this is the year for the offensive lineman. As far as the 21 draft is concerned, it looks like 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 might go in the first 2 rounds. So, in the Bears, they pick, I think, in the upper teens or low 20s. I forgot what draft. 21. Okay. They pick at 21. You can get you a good tackle there, and that's what this Bears franchise needs. As we all know, Lakina, to really build an offensive line, you had to bottom out for a couple of years to get a high draft pick to build through the offensive and defensive lines. And the Bears, assuming they don't trade for Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, they are sitting perfectly at 21 to grab one of the tackles.
Oh yeah, so and that's what they need. Like you said, Sid. I mean, they've been needing an old, offensive tackle for years now. So I
Hmm.
would advise Bears fans to sort of like, come out of the, get out of the clouds here. Where you're not getting Russell Wilson. I'm sorry, guys. So we just
Do you
gotta.
think they'll trade up to get one of those quarterbacks not named Trevor Lawrence, I should say?
Well, look, I mean, this is the right place we're talking about. So he traded up to get Trubisky. So I wouldn't be surprised if he
True.
tries to trade up to get maybe a Lance or a Fields or Mac Jones. His name is being floated around to us,
Hmm.
potential, somebody that the Bears could pick too. So it just at this point, who knows? We're gonna be hearing all types of rumors these next few weeks. So I'm just gonna sit back, drink my tea and just enjoy the amusement. You got to. You
You
got
just took
to.
the words out of my mouth.
Right. Well, great minds, right? I mean, what do you
Hmm.
think? I mean, do you think they trade up and try to get one of those quarterbacks besides ex-Nay Lawrence?
I wouldn't be surprised, like you mentioned before, they did it for Trubisky. I know Trubisky was rated high until the last few weeks when Mahomes' hype started to come around. When I think we pretty much knew that Kansas City was going to select him. I won't be surprised, but you're in a different place now. If you're right in place, your job is on the line. You're expected to win right away, and so I won't be surprised that they go all in to move up. But as I said before, and I agree with Ken, you need a tackle, and so you had to trade one of those first round picks, and you're left with no offensive line. I know some people would say, well, the guys that were injured last year, they'll be healthy next year. As our guy Jason Leisure, who covers the Bears from the Sun-Times, said now a couple of months ago, you cannot guarantee that the offensive line will play as well as they did a year ago. You just don't know. Injuries could reoccur again, or if they're healthy, they could just play bad. You just don't know.
Also, too, they're going to be a year older, especially the defensive
Yes.
side. So, yes, they had a couple of guys that opted out on defense. We talked about it, but like we've
Mhm.
been saying, they're going to be a year older. So you're going to have a lot of problems if you don't, solve that tackle spot. Yes, you guys got better last, as the season went on, but you guys
Mhm.
still weren't very good. So, it's kind of a crapshoot at this point, Sid.
It is, and this is what happens when you're in NFL hell. Chicago Bears, are you listening? We're watching all implode. Excuse me.
Oh,
We're watching it all. We're watching it all implode, and like you said, Lakina, from a fan standpoint, it's comical. But from what we do, it just doesn't look good. But you hear people nationally trying to hype up Matt Nagy. As we said before on this show, you could look at a good car. Oh, it looks good. It's shiny. Got a wash. You got the rims. As comedian Chris Rock once said, the rims be spinning. They be spinning.
oh yeah,
Okay.
totally.
You got the fuzzy dice hanging on the for the rear view mirror. But once you drive it, it doesn't ride smooth. The engine is sputtering, your spark plugs are messed up, your brakes are messed up. What happens to the value of the car? There's no value, it drops. And that's what's happening to the Bears right now. You look inside under the hood of that car, you look on the inside, it doesn't look great as it does on the outside.
Yeah, so that's really that's all we really we'll keep you updated abreast of what's been going on, but for right now it doesn't look very good. You listen to Second City Sports Doom Style podcast along with Sydney Brown, who is he, I am Lakita McGee, who is she, and me. We're gonna go on
Ding!
we're gonna go on the ice and talk some Blackhawks here, Sid. They didn't do too bad against you. I think they left some points on the board. I mean, they did get at least a point against the defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. You're losing 6-3 on Sunday. They did win on Saturday. They just missed games to a shootout, but they did get a point on Friday. So what did you think about the Hawks' performance against the Lightning this weekend?
It was very good, except for the last two periods on that third game on Sunday. Of course, when you commit a whole lot of dumb penalties, you give your
Yeah.
other team chances on the power play. That's what happens. Tampa Bay scored 6 unanswered goals after you led 3-0 after the first period. Young teams, they're just like the Bulls. You're going to have to go through a process of learning how to win games. And that's what this Blackhawks team is doing with a young core right now. And so outside of those last two periods, give them credit for being competitive. Now, that game on Friday, Malcolm Subban came up big, especially in the shootout, which they had to hold on to a 4-3 shootout win. That was good. Of course, Thursday, the day before. They let that game get away in overtime. Yes, they still picked up a point, but you could have added another point. It could have been a 2 out of 3 series win instead of losing 2 out of 3. But for the Hawks, you had the Dallas Stars for this week, which the first game starts tonight, and then you play at Dallas again on Thursday. What gives you confidence if you're a Blackhawks fan? Two things. One, you beat Dallas twice early last month, which got you back on track where you are right now. They're still holding on to fourth place in the Central Division. Of course, the top 4 teams in every division this year will qualify for the playoffs. And number 2, Kevin Lankinen, your goalie, starting goalie. I do not blame him for the loss on Sunday. He's been outstanding this year, Lakina. Also, Pia Suter, he leads all NHL rookies in points. He had another goal on Sunday. So some of these young guys are starting to come around, but they still need more experience. As we talked about last week, the schedule gets tougher. You need to start beating these teams if you want to qualify for the playoffs and get that growth and get that experience, hopefully qualify for the playoffs.
Let's hope so. I mean, I think they're a lot of fun to watch. And I saw they were Kirby Doc was working out, so hopefully he's sort of like that's the first step of him coming back, because I think getting him back is key. Although we still don't know about what's going to happen with Jonathan Taves. We'll see what happens with that. They're kind of keeping that kind of close to the vest, which, look, we get it. Look, it's the NHL. I know some people are not happy with that in that sense, but look, we get it. It's the NHL. They're good. They can be very serious when they want to be, so it's fine.
Yeah, just hoping everything's okay with Taves. We're not going to speculate or suggest anything what's happening with him. We'll wait just like everybody else was going on with him. Also, to Lakina, Alex DeBrincat, who's been on a roll. I know his 8-game point streak ended on Sunday, but he's been playing very well since he returned from COVID a few weeks ago. Patrick Kane is congratulations to him. Tonight, he's going to play his 1,000th career game in the NHL, even though he's on the road at Dallas. He's breaking records and setting records. So I know he's one of the key leaders of this team, along with Duncan Keith. But it's nice to see the young guys like DeBrincat step up. As I mentioned, Pia Suter, Philip Kucherev, who added another goal to his resume on Sunday against the Lightning. These young guys need to be consistent. They need to start stepping up more.
Oh, absolutely. And hopefully they do that, because like you said, so I think they could be right there and be in that 3 or 4 spot and get that playoff spot. And I think that can only help their confidence. Real quick before we wrap up, Vegas has looked really good, winning 6 in a row. The Islanders have looked really good too. Veterov, who is their goalie, has been, standing on his head. And, Semyon Varlamov, I should say. I can never get these Russian names. I might get a little tongue-tied. But he's looking really good, helping the Islanders. They're getting hot at the right time too. So, and Marc-Andre Fleury was doing his thing, with Vegas, as he usually does. So. Leading the league in least goals allowed. So just amazing what he's still doing. And he's like, he's about our age.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
Go ahead,
Lakina.
No, that's not saying. It's just amazing what he's doing. It's just absurd what he's still able to do.
Yeah, it is absurd, but shout out to those players that are able to last this long. Also, too, the St. Louis Blues is starting to turn around here a little bit. The Philadelphia Flyers, I know on Sunday, congratulations to them, as even though they lost their game on Sunday to the Washington Capitals, they started allowing fans back into the arena. So I know there's rumors that Mayor Lightfoot may do that for the Hawks and the Bulls later on for next month. We'll see about that. We'll keep you abreast on that. And so it looks like the NHL is starting to let some more cities have fans back in there. Well, it's up to the local government in those cities.
Yeah.
But it looks like hockey's starting to get along that track over the city of Chicago, as I have my fingers crossed for those. They're listening exclusively. It looks like maybe the Blackhawks will have some fans in there before the season's out, especially if they're getting anywhere near close to clinching a playoff spot for the Chicago Bulls as well. But congratulations to the Philadelphia Flyers as they allow fans to come back in this past Sunday.
Yeah, should be very interesting though. I'm sure the other teams, especially the Hawks, will follow suit. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, we will have to wait and see. Lakina, we have a few minutes left as you're listening to Second City Sports. We talked about before, Lakina, how we are consuming our television programs and sports in particular. It's not back to the old days of just watching it on your TV screen anymore. We're consuming it by on demand. We're consuming it online, whether it's just via your computer or these streaming apps. There's all different kinds of ways to consume products. And it looks like the radio industry is no different as it is hitting home here in Chicago. This is
Yeah.
from Robert Feeder's column from in Chicago from Monday. He's the Chicago media critic for both TV and radio. The music station known as 95.1 FM in Chicago is ceasing over-the-air broadcasting at the end of March and switching to full-time audio streaming via digital app operated by Chicago-based Integrated Brand Marketing, also known as IBM, not a computer company. The station features a mix of R&B, gospel, and smooth jazz and house music. Chris Henderson Hutchinson, the midday host known as First Lady, good friend of Lakina, by the way, continues as program director. Emerging from an FM translator atop Willis Tower, the station has been branded as Club Step at 95.1 FM until it was taken over in 2019 to Tracy Bell, who's the vice president of the Integrated Brand Marketing. That's the end of that story. Lakina doesn't specifically explain why this will take place at the end of the month. Lakina, living, of course, here in Chicago, we grew up on Time Joiner, 107.5, of course, BMX for us and people that are older than us now. That station is V103 in Chicago. I know that's the #1 music station in Chicago as of this last ratings period. Lakina, I love that station. I know they have Troy Tyler over there now, Sam Chapman, Ramoski Love is doing mornings over there. We grew up with him. I remember he was a producer at WGCI for Doug Banks' morning show back in the day. So, of course, he's been around almost every urban radio station in the city. So you still have some talented people over there. But it goes to show you the times that we're in right now. I'm not saying that terrestrial radio is not an option. It is, but the way that we're going, Lakina, in our industry, what we're doing right now, we had a radio show. Now we transitioned over to podcasts. I think we've done a hell of a job over this past year. We're doing podcasts via Zoom, StreamYard, or what have you. So as I said before, and I'll say it again, I'll say this to people who are listening that want to do what we do. You got to have many outlets to expand your brand and advertise for your product. It's not just the old school one-way ticket anymore. We're living in a digital age, and there's multiple outlets, multiple streams to get your product out there. It's not just, oh, let's just gather some money and buy some time on the radio, which still exists, but people are turning to podcasts. I still like the terrestrial radio, which we all grew up in, Lakina, but people want and need options. Let me repeat that again. People want and need options, and this is where we're going through right now. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think
to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think it's also about transitioning too into that digital form. I mean, both the sports stations, Chicago sports stations. I know that the Score has their own app, their own radio app. Also, ESPN 1000, they have their own app now too. We can listen to through them. You don't have to listen to, on the radio and such anymore. So, look, I think we'll see if more stations follow suit. I think this is more of like a cost-saving thing, if anything, going into all digital, because you got the technology now. Why not? So, look, Lady T is what they call her. First lady, I should say. It's a good friend of mine. I know she's done a great job so far at that station. I'm sure she's going to do great as they are transitioning to a more digital format. Like I said, we'll see if more stations do switch over to the digital format, because it is less conducive, and people can actually reach, because we know with terrestrial radio in some areas out in the boonies, you can't get the signal. The signal isn't strong enough. So digitally, it's a little more more manageable. So I wouldn't be surprised if more stations, nationwide, go this route. And we've actually seen it. Some stations are actually going this route. So this is the first time we're hearing from a station here in Chicago doing it.
Yeah, I think the question for me is, as I said, terrestrial radio should be an option, but as we said before, it's not the only option anymore. Are we seeing starting to see the slow death of terrestrial radio?
I I think there's always going to be an audience for it. I mean, I think like the older listeners are probably going to want to keep with the terrestrial radio because that's what they're used to. So I think, look, this is how I feel. I feel about the radio thing is the same thing I feel about TV. I mean, yes, you got more streaming services, a lot of the stations, networks have streaming services now, but there's always going to be an audience for television to watch on TV because it's just, a habit. It's just tradition. Same thing I feel about radio. Yes, they're going to be, you got TuneIn and all the stations have their own apps now, but there's always going to be that audience that are going to want to listen to it the old way, and it's terrestrial radio. So, but like it says, it's all about options, and I think you got to have it.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Just for me personally, like I tell people all the time, I don't listen to current radio anymore. I may turn on the station here and there every once in a while if I haven't heard a song in a while. Like okay, I'll listen to that song, or maybe a couple others, and then I'll turn because most of today's current music I just cannot stand. As many people who know me very well will already know. But 95.1 FM, I'm going to miss turning to it in my car radio. I'm glad, thank goodness I have the app, so I still get to listen to it, but it just won't be the same turn on that station on the radio.
Yeah, I get it. So, well, like I said, it'll be interesting to see if more stations, go this route.
Yeah, I think it's starting to trend, but how slow or how fast will this trend, will this pace pick up? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It remains to be seen.
Because, if you look at the ratings and listenership, I mean, more people are listening to it via, radio.com and TuneIn and apps like that. So a lot of people
iHeartRadio app as well. You can listen to our podcast also on the iHeartRadio app at War Media. At War on Anchor.
War on Anchor, yep.
But yeah, so like I said, it's different ways for people to consume the product. It's not just one or two ways anymore.
Which is, I think in that sense, is a good thing. So
exactly.
And on that note, you follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter. Oh, and also we got shout out to our good buddy Ken Davis. For those of you who didn't.
Yes.
For those of you who haven't, who didn't find out yesterday, he is going to be a part of the. I don't know if this is new, Sid, but I think this is a new thing that they're doing. Part of the Bears podcast. Joining guys like Adam Hogue and people at that ilk. And look, I'm sure, if you listen to Ken on this station on War Media, he's definitely going to bring something different to the table. And I'm looking forward to what he has to say because I'm sure he's going to shake things up.
Yeah, that's part of the Under Center podcast from NBC Sports Chicago because those that don't know, of course, they let go of a couple of the writers over there over the past few weeks. And so they're going through a transition right now. So congrats to our guy, Ken Davis. Of course, you can listen to me on Flippin' Friends, which he's the host of, along with Ryan Bukovac, who's the executive producer of that Davis show, and Flippin' Friends. And so, like you said, he's going to shake things up. He brings a different opinion. He brings a different perspective to the table. And I expect nothing but the best from him. So he's going to do a heck of a job.
And the first episode is already up. So go to NBCSportsChicago.com/Under Podcast. So, it's right there, and you can listen to it on your various apps.
Yes, support.
On that note, you follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. You go to our website, weareregalradio.com for more information. And also, you can listen to this podcast, Second City Sports, along with that other podcast programming in the scope with Josh Hicks. That's that Davis show and Flippin' Friends and Kyle Means' show, all part of the War Media Group, by simply going to War on Anchor on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Just type in the search engine box, War on Anchor, WARR on Anchor. Also, we're on YouTube at War Media, once again, at WARR Media. You can not only listen to us, but watch us do our thing live as we send you a kiss and take our bows. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Yes.
All right, for Sid, I'm Lakina. This is Second City Sports Zoom style. Look, I know that the weather's a little bit warmer right now, but look, and people are getting vaccinated, but even still, wash your hands, wear your mask, keep your distance, and be good to each other. This is Second City Sports Zoom style, and we'll see you this weekend.
Till next time, holla!